The space around the dead planet Kepler-7 looked like a giant graveyard of metal and fire. For 8 long months, 2 huge fleets had been fighting each other in the same place. Neither side could win. Neither side could lose. They just kept shooting and shooting, day after day. Admiral Kethvara stood on the bridge of his massive warship. His blue skin looked almost purple under the red warning lights. The Zephyrian Empire had sent him here with orders to destroy the enemy. That was 8 months ago. Now he was tired. Very tired, but he would never admit it. "Sir, the enemy is moving their ships again," said his weapons officer. The young Zephyrian looked nervous. They all looked nervous these days. Kethvara watched the enemy fleet on his big screen. The Corvin ships were ugly and dark, like flying rocks, but they were tough, very tough. His plasma weapons could blast holes in them, but the Corvins just kept fixing their ships and coming back for more. "Fire when ready," Kethvara said. It was the same order he gave every day, the same battle, the same results. On the other side of the battle zone, General Thoxon was giving the same kind of orders. The Corvin leader was twice as tall as any, human and covered in gray scales. His people were born fighters. They could take damage that would kill most other beings and keep fighting. "The blue skins are shooting at us again," said his second-in-command. "Should we return fire?" Thoxon nodded slowly. His people did not rush into anything. They were patient. They could wait forever if they had to. "Yes, use the heavy guns. Aim for their engine sections." The Corvin ships fired back. Orange beams of energy crossed the dark space between the fleets. Some hit their targets. Most missed. The Zephyrians moved their ships to new positions. The Corvins did the same. Then they would all wait for a few hours before doing it again. This was how wars were fought in their part of the galaxy. Slow, careful, safe, both. Sides had been fighting wars this way for hundreds of years. No one remembered why this particular fight had started. It did not matter anymore. What mattered was not losing face, not looking weak. Far away from the battle, a small human ship called the New Horizons was flying through empty space. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his chair, drinking coffee from a paper cup. His ship was tiny compared to the alien warships. It was built for exploring, not fighting. "Jake, I'm picking up some weird signals," said Dr. Amy Walsh from our science station. She was a smart woman with short brown hair and thick glasses. "Looks like energy weapons. Big ones." Jake put down his coffee cup. "How big?" "Really big. Like blow up a city big. And there are a lot of them." Ben Parker looked up from his engine controls. He was a big man with rough hands and a simple way of talking. "Maybe we should go the other way, Captain. Sounds dangerous." Lisa Chun turned around from her communication station. She was young and always curious about everything. "But what if someone needs help? We should at least take a look." Jake thought about it. His crew was right to be worried. They were explorers, not soldiers. But they were also human, and humans did not like to walk away from trouble. "We'll take a look," Jake decided. "But we stay far away. If things get bad, we run." The New Horizons changed course toward the battle. As they got closer, the signals got stronger. Then they saw it. 2 huge fleets of alien ships, bigger than anything they had ever seen. The ships were shooting at each other with weapons that lit up space like fireworks. "My God," Dr. Walsh whispered. "Look at the size of those things." The alien ships were massive. The smallest ones were bigger than Earth's biggest buildings. The largest ones were like flying cities. There were hundreds of them, maybe thousands, but something was strange about the battle. Jake watched for an hour, and he started to notice a pattern. The aliens would shoot for a while, then stop, and they would move their ships around, very slowly and carefully. Then they would shoot again. "This is weird," Ben said. "Why are they fighting so slow?" Dr. Walsh was studying the battle with her instruments. "I think I know. Look at this. They're following rules, like a game with very strict rules." She was right. The Zephyrians would fire exactly 50 shots. Then wait. The Corvins would fire back the same number of shots, then wait. Both sides moved their ships in patterns that seemed planned out ahead of time. "It's like they're dancing," Lisa said. "A very deadly dance." Jake had fought in Earths. Last war, many years ago. This was nothing like human warfare. When humans fought, they fought to win as fast as possible. They broke rules. They surprised their enemies. They did whatever worked. These aliens were fighting like they had all the time in the world. Like winning quickly would be cheating somehow. "Captain," Dr. Walsh said, "I've been listening to their radio signals. I think I can understand some of it. They're not trying to destroy each other. They're trying to ... outlast each other." "What do you mean?" "It's like they're waiting to see who gives up first. But neither side wants to give up. So they just keep fighting the same battle over and over." Jake shook his head. It made no sense to him. Why would anyone fight a war they did not want to win? "How long have they been doing this?" He asked. Dr. Walsh checked her readings. "Based on the damage to their ships and the debris field, I'd say about 8 months. Maybe longer." 8 months of this?" Ben said. "That's crazy." "And they could keep going for years," Dr. Walsh added. "Their supply ships keep bringing them food and ammunition. Neither side is running out of anything except time." Jake made a decision that would change everything. "Lisa, can you send them a message?" "I can try, but I don't know their language." "Send it anyway. Tell them we're peaceful explorers. Tell them we just want to talk." Lisa started broadcasting on all frequencies. She used simple words and repeated them many times. The effect on both alien fleets was immediate. All the shooting stopped. Both sides turned their weapons toward the tiny human ship. For the first time in 8 months, Admiral Kethvara and General Thoxon had something new to think about. The silence in space felt raw. For 8 months, this part of space had been full of weapon fire and explosions. Now everything was quiet. Both alien fleets had stopped shooting and turned to look at the small human ship. Admiral Kethvara stared at his screen. "What is that thing?" he asked his crew. The human ship was tiny compared to his warships. It looked like a metal stick with engines on the back. "Unknown design, sir," his science officer replied. "It does not match any ship in our database. The energy readings are very weak. It looks harmless." On the Corvin flagship, General Thoxon was having the same conversation. "It appeared out of nowhere," his second-in-command said. "No jump signature, no warning. It just flew right into our battle zone." "Is it a weapon?" Thoxon asked. "If it is, it's the strangest weapon I have ever seen. It's sending radio signals on many frequencies. The signals sound like talking." Both commanders made the same decision at the same time. They would capture this strange ship and find out what it was. Neither wanted the other side to get it first. On the new horizons, Jake Morrison watched both fleets moving toward them. "Well, that got their attention," he said. "Captain, they're surrounding us," Lisa Chun said from her communication station. "Both sides are sending ships our way." Dr. Amy Walsh looked at her instruments. "I count 20 ships from each fleet. They're trying to box us in." Ben Parker's hands moved over his engine controls. "We can outrun them if we leave now. Their ships are big and slow." Jake thought about it for a few seconds. Running away was the smart thing to do. But these aliens had been fighting each other for 8 months with no end in sight. Maybe someone needed to ask them why. "We stay," Jake decided. "But everyone get ready for trouble. The first alien ships reached the new horizons within an hour. They were huge, dark vessels that made the human ship look like a toy. Metal tubes shot out from both sides and stuck to the human ship's hull. Boarding. Tubes, Ben said. They want to come inside. How many? Jake asked. Lisa checked her sensors. 12 from the Zephyrians. 10 from the Corvins. They're going to be really surprised when they meet each other in our hallways. Dr. Walsh grabbed a toolkit from her station. Ben, do we still have those mining charges in storage? Yeah, about 20 of them. Why? Because I have an idea. How long do we have before they cut through our doors? The sound of cutting tools came from all over the ship. The aliens were working fast. Maybe 10 minutes, Jake said. What's your plan, Amy? Dr. Walsh was already moving toward the storage room. Ben, help me move these charges. Lisa, can you map where they're cutting? Into our ship? Already on it, Lisa said, her fingers flying over her controls. Ben followed Dr. Walsh down the hallway. You want to blow them up? Not exactly. I want to surprise them. Jake stayed on the bridge with Lisa. He picked up a plasma cutter from the toolkit. It was not much of a weapon, but it was better than nothing. Captain, Lisa said, I'm getting something interesting from their communications. I think they're as surprised as we are. What do you mean? The two alien groups are talking to each other for the first time in months. They're arguing about who gets to capture us first. The cutting sounds got louder. Then Dr. Walsh's voice came over the ship's speakers. Everyone get ready. When they come through those doors, things are going to get interesting. The first door exploded inward. 3 tall blue aliens in armor came through, carrying energy. Weapons. They expected to find scared humans hiding in corners. Instead, they found an empty hallway with strange humming sounds in the walls. The Zephyrian soldiers moved forward carefully. The humming got louder. Then the floor under their feet erupted in a shower of sparks and smoke. The mining charges Dr. Walsh had placed created a maze of fallen ceiling panels and blocked passages at the same time. Gray-skinned Corvin soldiers were breaking through doors on the other side of the ship. They ran into the same problem. Ship had turned into a puzzle of dead ends and false passages. But the real surprise came when both groups of aliens met in the ship's main hallway. For a moment, Zephyrians and Corvins stared at each other in shock. They had been enemies for so long, they had almost forgotten what the other side looked like up close. Jake Morrison stepped out from behind a wall panel. He was holding his plasma cutter, but he did not point it at anyone. Hello, he said in civil words. I am Captain Jake Morrison. This is my ship. You are all welcome here, but I need you to stop breaking my things. The aliens looked at him like he was crazy. In their cultures, ship captains commanded from safe places. They did not walk up to enemy soldiers and introduce themselves. One of the Zephyrian soldiers raised his weapon. Jake moved faster than anyone expected. The plasma cutter in his hand deflected the alien's gun just as it fired. The energy beam hit the ceiling instead of Jake's chest. That was rude, Jake said. Then he kicked the alien in what he hoped was a knee. The Zephyrian fell down. The other aliens tried to react, but humans were faster than they expected. Ben Parker appeared from another passage and tackled a Corvin soldier. Dr. Walsh rolled something down the hallway that made a loud noise and filled the air with thick smoke in the confusion. Lisa Chun was working on something much more important. She had been listening to the alien radio signals for an hour, and she was starting to understand how their communication systems worked. The aliens used very complex codes and formal language. Everything had to follow rules. Every message had to be approved by officers. It took them forever to say anything simple. Lisa found a way into both communication networks. It was not hard. The aliens had never met anyone who thought as fast as humans did. Their security was designed to stop other slow-thinking aliens. Not creative humans. She sent the same message to both fleets at the same time. It was short and simple. Why don't you just talk to each other? The effect was immediate. On both flagships, communication officers stared at their screens. The message had come from inside their own ships, but it was not from any of their crew. Admiral Kethvara. Read the message 3 times. Who sent this? Unknown, sir. It came through our secure channels, but the language is not ours. General Thoxon was having the same problem. This message makes no sense. Talk to who? I think it means the Zephyrians, sir. But we do not talk to enemies during battle. Why not? Thoxon asked. It was a question he had never thought about before. Back on the human ship, the fighting had stopped. The alien soldiers were more confused than angry. Jake Morrison was standing in the middle of the hallway, talking to both groups at the same time. Look, he said, I do not know why you two are fighting, and I do not care. But you have been shooting at each other for 8 months, and nobody's winning. That seems stupid to me. The aliens looked at each other. In their languages, calling someone stupid was a terrible insult. But this strange human said it like he was talking about the weather. We fight because we must, said the Zephyrian leader. We fight because they started it, said the Corvin. Did not, said the Zephyrian. Did too, said the Corvin. Jake sighed. You sound like children. Amy, how long would it take you to fix our communication system? Dr. Walsh stuck her head out from behind a wall panel. About an hour. Why? Because I think these people need to have a long talk. 2 hours later, Jake Morrison stood in the strangest meeting room he had ever seen. Half of the room was blue and full of fancy lights. The other half was gray and looked like the inside of a cave. A glowing wall separated the 2 sides. Blue side, Admiral Kethvara sat in a chair that looked like a throne. His uniform was perfect and covered with medals. Behind him stood a dozen officers, all looking very serious. On the gray side, General Thoxon stood because his people did. Not like chairs. His thick armor was scratched and dented from many battles. His officers stood in straight lines like stone statues. Jake's crew was in the middle, between the 2 sides. They looked terrible. Their clothes were torn from the fight on their ship. Jake had a cut on his face from where an alien weapon had missed him by inches. You are prisoners, Admiral Kethvara said in careful English. You will answer our questions. No, General Thoxon said. They are our prisoners. We captured them first. Your soldiers arrived second, Kethvara replied. Your soldiers left first, Thoxon shot back. Jake looked at his crew and rolled his eyes. Are you two going to argue about this all day? Both. Alien leaders stopped talking and stared at him. In their cultures, prisoners did not speak unless spoken to. They certainly did not interrupt important discussions. You cannot speak to us like that, Kethvara said. I just did, Jake replied. Look, I do not know who captured who, and I do not care, but I have a question for both of you. You are not allowed to ask questions, Thoxon said. Why not? Because. You are a prisoner. Says who? Says the rules of war. Jake laughed. Your rules of war are stupid. That is why you have been fighting the same battle for 8 months. The silence in the room was so thick you could cut it with a knife. No one had ever called their military traditions stupid before. Dr. Amy Walsh stepped forward. She was still, holding a data pad she had been working on. Captain Morrison is right. We have been watching your battle for several hours, and we can see the problems. There are no problems, Kethvara said. We are following proper military procedure. That is the problem, Dr. Walsh said. She touched her data pad, and numbers appeared in the air above it. Look at these patterns. You fire 50 shots, then you wait. They fire 50 shots back, then they wait. Then you both move your ships to new positions and do it again. That is how wars are fought, Thoxon said. That is how you make wars last. Forever, Ben Parker said. The big engineer was holding a piece of metal he had torn from their ship during the fight. I fix machines for a living. When something is broken, I do not follow a manual. I fix it. War is not a machine, Kethvara said. Yeah, it is, Ben replied. And yours is broken. Lisa Chun was still working on her communication device. She looked up and said, I have been listening to your radio signals. Do you know what I found? What? Both commanders asked at the same time. You are fighting over territory that neither of you really want. This whole war started because of a mistake in a trade agreement 3 years ago. The alien leaders looked at each other across the glowing wall. They had been fighting for so long, they had forgotten why it started. That does not matter now, Thoxon said. We cannot stop fighting. It would look weak. Looking weak is better than looking stupid, Jake said. And right now, you both look pretty stupid. Admiral Kethvara stood up. His face was turning a darker shade of blue. How dare you? Sit down, Jake said. I am going to make you an offer. You are not in a position to make offers, Kethvara said. Sure I am. Give us 72 hours, and we will end your war. Both alien commanders started laughing. It was not a happy sound. You? Thoxon said. 4 prisoners with a broken ship? You will end a war that has lasted 3 years? Yep, Jake said. 3 days. That is all we need. Impossible, Kethvara said. We have the finest military minds in the galaxy. We have studied this conflict for months. There is no quick solution. Doctor. Walsh held up her datapad again. That is because you are thinking inside a box. We think outside the box. What box? Thoxon asked. The box that says you have to destroy each other to win, Amy explained. What if there was a way for both sides to get what they want? The enemy cannot get what they want, Kethvara said. That is why they are the enemy. Do you even know what they want? Jake asked. There was another long silence. Finally, Thoxon said, They want our territory. We want our territory back, Kethvara said. See? Lisa said. You both want the same thing. Territory. What if there was enough territory for everyone? There is not, both commanders said together. Ben Parker held up his piece of metal. You know what this is? This is part of an asteroid that hit our ship. There are thousands of asteroids around here. Big ones. Full of the same metals you are fighting over. Asteroids cannot be claimed by military conquest, Kethvara said. Why not? Jake asked. Because the rules say. Forget the rules, Jake. Interrupted. I am talking about common sense. You have been shooting at each other over rocks that you can see out your windows. Why not just take the rocks? Dr. Walsh was getting excited. Captain Morrison is right. The asteroid field around this system contains more resources than both your empires use in a year. Mining asteroids is dangerous, Thoxon said. So is war, Amy replied. But mining pays better. Jake walked closer to the glowing wall that separated the two sides. Here is the deal. Give us 3 days. If we cannot end this war in 72 hours, you can go back to shooting at each other forever. But if we succeed, you both get what you want without losing any more ships or soldiers. What do you want in return? Kethvara asked. Information, Jake said. Maps of this part of space. Details about other civilizations out here. We are explorers. We want to know what is out there without stumbling into more wars. And if you fail, Thoxon asked, then you capture us and use us as prisoners or slaves, or whatever you want. We will take the risk. Both commanders looked at their officers. The officers looked worried. This was not how things were supposed to work. prisoners, did not make deals with their captors. "This is ridiculous," one of the Zephyrian officers said. "We should just divide the prisoners between us and continue the battle." "The war could last another year," one of the Corvin officers added. "Maybe longer." Admiral Kethvara thought about his orders from home. Win the war quickly. He had been trying to do that for 8 months. Maybe it was time to try something different. General Foxen was thinking the same thing. His people were tired of war. They wanted to go home to their families. 3 days, Kethvara said slowly. "What exactly would you do?" "We would fix your broken war," Jake said with a smile. "How?" "By cheating." Both alien leaders stared at him. In their cultures, cheating was the worst possible crime. But Jake Morrison did not look ashamed. He looked proud. "We will consider your proposal," Foxen said finally. "You have 1 hour to decide," Jake said. "After that, the offer expires." "You cannot give us deadlines," Kethvara said. "You are prisoners." "Not anymore," Jake replied. "Now we are consultants." The countdown timer on Jake's watch showed 48 hours left. Both alien fleets had agreed to the human proposal, but they were not happy about it. Admiral Kethvara and General Foxen watched every move the humans made. "This is crazy," Kethvara said to his officers. "We are letting prisoners tell us how to fight our war." "They are not prisoners anymore," his science officer replied. "You agreed to the deal." On the Corvin flagship, General Foxen was having similar doubts. What if they fail? "We will look like fools." "We already look like fools," his second-in-command said. "We have been fighting the same battle for 8 months. Jake Morrison and his crew had split up to work on different parts of their plan. Dr. Amy Walsh was studying the battlefield from the bridge of the New Horizons. She had charts and numbers spread out everywhere. "Ben, come look at this," she called out. Ben Parker walked over from the engine room, wiping his hands on a dirty rag. "What did you find?" "Something both fleets completely missed," Amy said, pointing at her screen. "Look at this asteroid field." Ben looked at the thousands of floating rocks around them. Most were small, but some were as big as cities. "Yeah, so?" "They are just rocks. Not just rocks. Look at these readings." Amy touched her screen, and numbers appeared. "These asteroids are full of rare metals. The same metals both fleets use to build their ships and weapons." "You mean the stuff they are fighting over?" "Exactly. They are fighting over territory that has these metals in the ground. But there are floating mountains of the same stuff right here, and nobody is paying attention to them." Meanwhile, Jake was doing something that horrified both alien commanders. He was talking to them. Not at the same time, but one after another, asking them simple questions. "So why did this war start?" Jake asked Admiral Kethvara. "The Corvins invaded our territory." "What territory? The Regulus system?" "It belongs to us." An hour later, Jake asked General Foxen the same question. "The Zephyrians stole our colony," Foxen said. "The Regulus system was ours first." "How do you know?" "We have documents. Legal papers. We claimed it 3 years ago." Jake scratched his head. "So you both want the same star system?" "Yes." "What is so special about it?" "Metals. Rare metals for building ships." Jake smiled. This was easier than he thought. Lisa Chun was working on the most important part of the plan. She had hacked into both fleets' communication systems and was listening to everything. What she heard surprised her. The alien soldiers were tired. Very tired. They talked about home. They talked about their families. They wanted the war to end, but they could not say that out loud. "Jake," Lisa called on her radio. "You need to hear this." "What is it?" "The crews on both sides are saying the same things. They are homesick. They want to go home. But they cannot quit Because it would be shameful. Jake thought about this. So they are stuck fighting a war nobody wants to fight. Exactly. Ben Parker's voice came over the radio. I have an idea. What if we give them a way to stop fighting without losing face? How? Amy asked. Come back to the ship. I want to show you something. An hour later, the whole crew was gathered around Ben's workstation. He had been studying the asteroids with the ship's scanners. Look at this, Ben said, pointing at a huge asteroid floating nearby. This rock has enough metals to supply both fleets for a year, and there are hundreds more just like it. So, Jake said, so we move them. We use our mining equipment to push these asteroids into a new position. Right between both fleets. Amy's eyes got wide. You want to create a neutral zone. A place where both sides can mine without fighting. Exactly. But here's the best part. It will take both fleets working together to do it safely. Lisa understood immediately. You want to force them to cooperate. Right. If they want the metals, they have to talk to each other. They have to share information. They have to work as a team. Jake grinned. It was a crazy plan. It was also brilliant. There is one problem, Amy said. Moving asteroids is dangerous. Work. If we make a mistake, we could crash them into the fleets. That is why we need both sides to help, Ben replied. The Zephyrians have the best computers for calculating trajectories. The Corvins have the strongest tractors beams for moving heavy objects. And we have the mining equipment to break the asteroids into smaller, safer pieces. Jake added that the plan was insane. It was also the only thing that might work. Jake called both fleet commanders and explained the idea. There was a long silence on both sides. You want us to work with our enemies? Kethvara asked. Just for 3 days, Jake said. After that, you can go back to being enemies. But you will both have enough resources to last for years. What if they betray us? Thoxon asked. What if they do not? Jake replied. You have been fighting them for 8 months. Do you think they are evil, or do you think they are just scared like you are? Another long silence. We will try, Kethvara said finally. We agree, Thoxon added. The next 24 hours were the strangest in the history of both fleets. Zephyrian computers worked with Corvin engineers. Officers who had been shooting at each other the day before were now sharing technical data. At first, they only talked through the humans. Jake's crew became translators, not just for language, but for ideas. The Zephyrians want to know if your tractor beam can handle a rock this size, Lisa would tell the Corvins. Tell them yes, but we need their computers to calculate the exact angle, would come the reply. Slowly the aliens started talking directly to each other. It was awkward at first. They did not trust each other, but they had a job to do, and they were both professional soldiers. The first asteroid was moved successfully. It was a small one, just for practice. But when it settled into position between the fleets, both sides cheered. It worked, Amy said, watching the celebration on both ships. It is working, Jake corrected. We still have 36 hours left, but something had changed. For the first time in 8 months, both fleets were working toward the same goal. They were not enemies anymore. They were partners in a difficult job. The timer on Jake's watch kept counting down. But the war was already over. The aliens just did not know it yet. The timer on Jake's watch showed 6 hours left when the last asteroid settled into position. The space between the two fleets now looked completely different. Where once there had been empty darkness, now there was a glowing field of resource-rich rocks, all perfectly arranged for safe mining. Both alien fleets had worked together for 2.5 days. What started as suspicious cooperation had become something neither side expected. They were talking to each other like old friends. Zephyrian Mining Ship 7, this is Corvin Engineering Vessel 12, came a voice over the radio. You're cutting. Beam is drifting off target. Adjust heading by 2 degrees. Thank you, Corvin 12. Adjusting now. Your tractor beam is holding perfectly. Dr. Amy Walsh listened to the friendly chatter and smiled. Listen to them. Yesterday, they were shooting at each other. Today, they are giving each other technical advice. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Horizons, watching the final asteroid slide into place. People are not so different, no matter what planet they come from. They all want the same things: safety, food, a way to take care of their families. Ben Parker was checking the mining equipment one last time. The new resource field is stable. Both fleets can start full mining operations whenever they want. There is enough metal here to supply both empires for 10 years, maybe more. And they did it without firing a shot, Lisa Chun added. In fact, I do not think either side has powered up their weapons in 2 days. That was true. Both fleets had been so busy working together, they had forgotten to be enemies. Admiral Kethvara called the New Horizons on a secure channel. Captain Morrison, please report to my flagship. General Thoxon will be here as well. On my way, Jake replied. Then he turned to his crew. How do I look? Like someone who just ended a war in 3 days, Amy said not an hour later. Jake stood in the same meeting room where he had made his crazy proposal. But everything was different now. The glowing wall between the two sides was gone. Admiral Kethvara and General Thoxon sat at the same table, looking at star charts together. Captain Morrison, Kethvara said, standing up. You have done something remarkable. We all did it, Jake replied. Your people, his people, my people. We worked together. General Thoxon nodded slowly. 3 days ago, I thought the Zephyrians were my enemies. Now I realize they are just people with the same problems I have. What made you change your mind? Jake asked, working with them, talking to them, finding out that their soldiers miss home just like mine do. Thoxon paused. We have been fighting over something we could have shared from the beginning. Admiral Kethvara spread out a large map on the table. Captain Morrison, we have a proposal. For you. Jake looked at the map. It showed star systems he had never seen before, with notes written in alien languages. What is this? Information, Kethvara said. Everything our empires know about this part of the galaxy. Trade routes inhabited. Systems, dangerous areas to avoid. You wanted maps. Here they are. All of them? Jake asked. Every star chart. Every survey report. Every first contact record. Thoxon pushed a data crystal across the table. Your species thinks differently than ours. You see solutions where we see only problems. The galaxy needs more thinking like that. Jake picked up the crystal. It was warm to the touch and glowed with a soft light. This is worth a fortune. It is worth more than money, Kethvara said. This is knowledge. Use it wisely. There is something else, Thoxon added. Both our governments want to hire you. Hire us for what? Other conflicts. There are wars happening all over the galaxy. Long, stupid wars that accomplish nothing. Wars like ours was. Jake thought about it. You want us to be professional peace makers? Professional problem solvers, Kethvara corrected. There are disputes over territory, trade routes, ancient grievances. Problems that have been going on for decades because both sides are too proud to look for new solutions. Most galactic conflicts last years, Thoxon explained, some last centuries. Military leaders study the same battles over and over, trying to find tiny advantages. But you did something completely different. You changed the game. Jake smiled. We cheated. Exactly. You broke rules that needed to be broken. A new voice came over the room's communication system. It was Dr. Amy Walsh calling from the New Horizons. Jake, You need to see this. I am getting signals from all over the galaxy. News of what happened here is spreading fast. What kind of signals? Jake asked. Requests for help. One count at least. 12 different star systems asking if the humans who ended the Zephyrian-Corvan War can come help them too. Ben Parker's voice joined the conversation. Captain, I am reading massive fleet movements. Ships from both empires are heading home. The war is really over. Lisa Chun headed her report. I am intercepting communications from other species. They are all talking about the humans who stopped a war in 3 days. Some of them sound very interested in meeting us. Jake looked at the 2 alien commanders. 3 days ago, they had been bitter enemies. Now they were working together to build something new. What happens next? Jake asked. Next you explore, Kithvara said. You meet new species. You learn about their problems. And when you find conflicts that need solving, you solve them. The galaxy is a big place, Thoxon added, full of old grudges and stupid fights. But maybe, with your help, it does not have to stay that way. Jake walked to the window and looked out at the asteroid field. Ships from both fleets were already beginning mining operations. Former enemies were working side by side, loading precious metals that would help both their civilizations grow. There is one condition, Jake said finally. What? Both commanders asked. We are explorers, not soldiers. If we do this, we do it our way. No weapons, no threats. We solve problems by talking and thinking, not by fighting. Agreed, Kethvara said immediately. Agreed. Thoxon echoed. Jake picked up the data crystal and slipped it into his pocket. Then I guess we have work to do. 2 weeks later, the New Horizons was flying toward its first new assignment. The ship looked different now. It was bigger, with new sections built by Zephyrian and Corvan engineers. The human crew had been joined by volunteers from both fleets, aliens who wanted to learn the human way of solving problems. Dr. Amy Walsh was studying reports about their destination. It is a trade dispute that has been going on for 40 years. Both sides have been building up their fleets, preparing for war. 40 years? Ben Parker said from his engineering station. That is even worse than the last one. Not anymore, Lisa Chun said with a smile. Give us a week. Jake Morrison sat in his captain's chair, looking at the stars ahead. In his pocket, the data crystal contained maps of thousands of unexplored systems. But more than that, it contained something else. Hope. The galaxy was about to learn that wars did not have to last forever. Sometimes, all it took was someone willing to ask a simple question. Why do not you just talk to each other? Behind them, in the Kepler system, Zephyrian and Corvan ships worked together in the asteroid field, mining resources that would fuel peace instead of war. The age of endless conflicts was ending. The age of human solutions had begun.